Hey guys, it's Nick here. Today, we have a few plot holes yet to be discovered. For example, the governor is off on his own and still has two eyes, and Michonne has joined Negan prior to my other stories, well, at least a few of them, and Sophia is in tow while this is going on. How will these plot holes in turn affect the story, and will they at all be connected later down the line? This is part 9 to What If Sophia Joined Negan. Now, after the whole governor deal, Dale becoming pretty much the governor, and Rick and Shane becoming the police guards of Woodbury, everything is pretty much peaceful. Nothing bad's gone down. Axel has officially now gotten together with Carol, and Axel very much cares at the fact that Carol's still looking for her missing daughter. Shane and Andrea have solved their differences after the whole governor bit and have officially gotten back together again. And like I've said before, Shane's officially gotten over the whole Lori thing. Now, Milton's work has officially been shut down by Shane and Rick mainly because they don't want to have to worry about walkers breaching Woodbury and basically making them have to search for another place, because this is a good place. Daryl and Merle would go out on runs, like, they would, and Merle would eventually warm up to the idea fully at the fact that Daryl's still looking for Sophia. Don't really know how Merle felt about Sophia in general. Never really talked about her at all. But I feel like he would warm up to the idea of helping Daryl more and more, looking for her. T-Dog also, after a good long while, would eventually forgive Merle to a degree and be more willing to go out on runs with him and help him and such. So, that's nice. Daryl and Beth officially would get into a relationship like I've had in other stories, because I feel that if they were around together long enough, that would happen. Carl would also be a changed person here because of less happening to him. Well, sure, he still did get shot, but with Sophia still out there, and the fact that Lori is still alive, this means that Carl's character development's going to be different. And the fact that the whole prison fight thing didn't happen and they never knew if Judith was alive or not. That whole thing. But, yeah. Big Tiny and Oscar, besides Axel, are the two surviving prisoners, because Tomas and Andrew, it's just the way their characters were written, there was no saving them, as I've discussed before. But eventually, some time passes, and I mean some time, and we get introduced to the other residents of Woodbury as well as Tyrese's family, that being of which Bob, Mika, Lizzie, David, Karen, Ben, Alan, Sasha, and Tyrese. We get introduced to all of them soon enough, with Tyrese's family having to be picked up because they would still go to the prison. But I feel that with enough runs around there, Daryl and Merle would at least pick up on it. And Tyrese's family would be brought to the prison. Woodbury, sorry. But anyways, Carol, getting used to Lizzie and Mika as she did before, would tell him about Sophia and that she's still out there looking for her. And these two definitely remind her of her own daughter and such. Now, Lizzie, she gets kind of a jealous streak from this, because we know how crazy Lizzie was with the whole walkers thing. So I feel that with Sophia brought up here and the fact she might be alive, this would cause Lizzie to go on kind of a jealous streak, so mad that Carol, in turn, would unfortunately have to put her down. And I feel that this would be even more sad, Sure, Lizzie killed Mika in the original, and that was sad enough, but this would just be sad on the fact that Lizzie was that jealous. But Mika, she understands the connection between Carol and her daughter Sophia, and agrees along with Axel to stay by her side and continue to help find her. Because she's not like Lizzie, wherein the fact that she's jealous and whatnot. She understands the bond between mother and daughter. So, Mika ultimately takes on an adoptive daughter role, like I've had in other stories, except it's kind of different here, because Sophia's still alive, but I still feel the adoptive daughter thing would go for it. Now, as for Axel, he once again becomes like an adoptive father to Mika, because as for Mika and Lizzie's father, whom I still think would be alive, it depends on what would go down in Woodbury and such. But anyways, with all of that out of the way, the governor, who is still alive, let's cut to him. The governor is off on his own after being kicked from Woodbury and basically having nothing, when all of a sudden, he walks into the wrong territory. Before he can even blink twice, someone comes from behind with a knife and slashes his eye. So, this is a little bit later down the line, he loses his eye, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. Who is the assailant? Lou, one of the claimers. That's right, the governor has stepped into claimer territory, because I've really never had that done in any of my what-ifs before. What if the governor joined the claimers? But we have that here. Eventually, Joe steps up and says, "You walked into the wrong territory, mister. This area is claimed." And the governor can't even process what's going on because he's in too much pain from getting his eye slashed with a knife. Because remember, he had his eye stabbed with a piece of glass in the original story. Here, he just gets it slashed with a knife. So, same pain still, because, losing an eye. The governor ultimately is given an eye patch because, honestly, I feel that this would just be more of a scare tactic. I don't think the claimers would mean to kill the governor. Especially, they didn't mean to kill Daryl. This would be more of a scare tactic. As soon as the governor regains his composure, he asks who the people are and what they're doing here. Joe says that they're just a band of guys who follow simple rules. And then Joe asks who this guy is and where he came from and why he's off on his own. That kind of stuff. And since the governor, once again, has nothing to lose, well, bar from, his eye getting slashed with a knife, he basically tells the claimers his backstory, trying to keep some parts hidden, obviously, and that he was kicked from his town where he was once leader by a bunch of men who thought that they were bigger than him, by an old man and just a tough man called Shane, and said that it was all started because of all of them looking for a specific girl called Sophia or something. Either way, he lost everything important to him. Joe says some intriguing news. About a year ago, which would be around the time that Rick's people were at the farm, Lou had seen a little girl matching the description run off to a distant part of the woods that they were at. He had told Joe about this, but Joe paid no mind to it because it was just a little girl, and by the time that they would catch up to her, it would be pointless. So they left it be. Now Joe says he doesn't know how well this information might go in turn to the governor, but it might help him in the slightest to use it to his advantage. But with that, he says that the governor's free to go, and sorry about the whole slashing eye thing. But this gives the governor an idea. This information's more than handy. It could definitely be used, but he can't do it alone. He then proposes a deal. He will join the claimers if they go with him. Because if they go with him to help take back his town, they can use the information of Sophia against them, and it will work definitely towards his favor. Now, Joe says him and the claimers ain't interested in taking a town. And if they were, they'd just be taking the materials. They're not interested in living in a town. But he does like the idea of the governor joining their group. So, ultimately, Joe agrees and says he's got himself a deal. Although, they might go off on their own after he takes the town back, so that's pretty much it. The governor agrees to joining the claimers for now, just to get his town back. And, ultimately, the stage is set. But is it really? Will the governor, in turn, just betray the claimers to his own ends even before he gets the town back? What more do the claimers possibly know about Sophia, or is that it? And will the Woodbury people with Rick's group be able to stop the governor joined with the claimers? And that's where we leave things for the moment. Hope you guys like this little twist on what if Sophia joined Negan. Hope you guys are enjoying the story as a whole, especially with the idea of the governor joining the claimers, because it's definitely a twist that not even I saw coming when I was writing the story. But still, like I said, nice twist. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video.